Christine will present the Ajika Competency Initiative. And Christine's an Operations Geologist, and she can tell you a bit more about what she does. And I'm Anastasis Kokinos, the Director of Esanda. We're an upstream oil and gas training organisation. And we've kicked off these webinars this year. We've had about 4 or 5, which have been quite successful. And as you can see, we've got a number coming up. And a key focus has been the energy transition and how, as an oil and gas industry, we're going to have to change and how we adapt to make it as efficient as possible and how we can contribute to making it a smooth transition. And some other more technical topics down there on geology, drilling and subsurface as well. Now, as I said, we're a training company. So if anybody's interested in learning and development training support from us, we've got a QR code here, which you can take an image of and book a meeting with me directly. And we can discuss opportunities with Esanda. Or if it's not for you to do, we're happy to talk to your training department or training managers. Okay, so that's the plug, and I'll put this back up at the end of the meeting in case anybody wants to take the QR code, or just email me directly at Esanda Engineering. The rules for the webinar will attend the participants. Questions will be using the chat function. I'll try and answer whatever I can. Whatever I can't answer, we'll leave to the end for Christine or one of her colleagues to answer as best as they can. They should be able to. If we can't address all the questions live, we can follow up via email, but I think we'll have time to address everything today or during the webinar. As mentioned, the webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel in a day or so once we edit it and take out all the boring bits. And yeah, as mentioned as well, further questions, feel free to contact us at training@esandaengineering.com. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is I'll hand you over to Helen Robertson, who's worked with Christine and her team on developing the Competency Initiative. Helen's working with Ecom Scotland, and they've built the back end, or the software part, the platform for the Competency Initiative. Okay, so I don't know if you have any slides, Helen, or if you're just going to talk to the screen.
No, just a couple of minutes just to say hello, if you don't mind.
I'll just turn off my screen if I can work that out. I've got too many screens up here. All right, so I'll hand you over to Helen now. Okay, thanks, Helen.
Thank you. And yes, well, good morning, everybody. And I don't know if it's morning or wherever it is, wherever you are in the world, hello. And it is a very, very sunny Scotland. It's great to be here to support Christine and our team with Ajika and Esanda. Thank you very much, Anastasis and Ezra, for the opportunity to be able to say hello to everybody. So Ecom Scotland, or as we're known now as Ecom Learning Solutions, as of yesterday, we had a very successful rebrand launch and our website launch as well. So Anastasis had very kindly offered to send out a few of the links post-webinar, and so you can get more information about what we do. So very quickly, what do we do? Well, we are a digital learning and assessment company. We have been on the go for over 25 years. We work in Scotland, we work in the UK, and we work internationally. That's every corner of the world do we work. And we're working with Christine and her team with Ajika, and we have done for the past few years to develop the online competency assessment tool. Christine will delve into that in a wee bit more information, but it is an absolute pleasure to be able to work with Christine and the team with this product. It's a fantastic tool, actually. So we work in so many sectors throughout the world: public, private, third sector, oil and gas. Of course, the oil and gas sector we work in with Christine, and we work in with the private sector in different guises. We work with Scottish Government, our National Health Organisation, and our various charities too. The third sector are our charities. So with that information that Anastasis will be sending out, there would be various case studies. with various sectors that will be able to go into the information in a wee bit more detail. I'm also joined by my colleague Emma Dixon, and Emma and I will be with Christine and the team at the end if there are any questions that you want to ask of us. So all that said, I'm saying no more, and I'm going to hand you over now to Christine. And thanks Anastasis and Ezra again for the opportunity. Okay, Christine, it's all yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Helen. Appreciate your comments as always. Can everybody see my first slide there that I'm sharing?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody okay? Great. So again, my thanks to Anastasis and to Ezra for helping us organise today. I very much appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to everybody from a very sunny northeast England, a bit like our sunny Scotland that Helen resides in. A little bit about myself. I've worked in the industry for almost, 40 years, although obviously I started when I was a child. I worked initially as a mudlogger, then moved on to well site geology and then operations geology. And a large part of my work has been planning and executing complex, difficult projects throughout the world. Through this, I have looked at many CVs. I have subcontracted and employed many different people. And this is something which, this assessment is something very close to my heart, as something which I believe can make the whole process much quicker, much more streamlined, and actually much more effective. So let me say to begin, I'm going to be talking about an objective skills assessment for operations geoscience. And I'm going to be talking on behalf of Ajika LLP, which is a not-for-profit organisation. And my colleagues, Bob Fagg, Martin Gardner, Tim Herrett and I have worked on this for a number of years to date. Very quickly, what the outline is. The first two parts there are the Operations Geoscience and Operations Geoscientists and the Competency Challenge. That's really all about who we are, what we do, and the problems we face actually determining how competent people are. I'd like to then go on to the actual online skills assessment, talk a little bit about UKOGC, which was our original organisation we created, which then evolved into Ajika. Talk about objective assessing and testing, the current status of what we're doing and what we would like to do in the way forward, and also a little bit of a conclusion, and then talk about accessing the assessment itself. So to begin with, what is Operations Geoscience? Well, I know that quite a few of our audience are geoscientists in themselves. However, we do have some people who aren't from the discipline. So if you just give me a few minutes just to go through this, then hopefully we can all end up with the same understanding. So we have our two communities. We have geoscientists and we have engineers. And they're involved in the practices of assessing the subsurface and planning and designing and executing wells. Where this joins, we have an area here where I think most of us as operations geologists or operations geoscientists sit. We sit in this central area, which is often overlooked by both communities because we have skills in both of these areas. And that's part of the problem, really. We're not necessarily professionally recognised as being practitioners of a craft. What we're hoping to include on this assessment is all operations geoscientists. And that can be everything from a mudlogger through to a pore pressure practitioner, shallow hazards expert. It's really including everybody involved in the whole practice of this. The reason is because operations geoscience work, it includes many different strands of needing excellence. And especially for something like, say, pressure determination, we give our assessments and our prognoses to engineers to plan and drill the wells. Those engineers have to be competency assured. However, we don't. And here's just a couple of things that, a few tasks that we do. Onshore, there's all our work in pre-planning, and offshore, actually in executing the wells. All of these things require a certain level of skill and of competency. We all work on safety critical issues. it's important, therefore, that we actually understand the level of skill that these people that we employ, who work for us, have. It's also important to understand our own skills and know where our own skills gap lies. So why do we need to demonstrate competency? Well, there's a couple of examples. A shallow hazards issue on the left, which is a breach of a shallow hazard gas accumulation. And on the right, you can see there's obviously been an issue at surface which has resulted in a fire on board. So how to know the competency of those you engage, those you are asking to do these specific tasks for you. Traditionally, in the operations geoscience world, it's by personal communication with colleagues in the industry. I know myself, when I'm looking for people to do a specific job, I will ask people, do you have anybody that you could recommend? When I get a CV in, I look to see if these people have worked for somebody that I know. And then I go on to then ask them about their opinion of the proficiency of that person. The oil price decline in 2015 and the 2020 pandemic resulted in many people leaving the industry. So we've actually got a bit of a problem there. And then a lot of the people we rely on just aren't around anymore. It's important to demonstrate your competency to others. There's no professional body to represent us. In the UK, the Geological Society has a few members with practical experience, and they can assess the competence of operations geoscientists for chartership. There's professional bodies worldwide which recognise and they ask you for proof of your academic qualifications and professional references, but there's no actual technical skills assessment. And again, a lot of us work as independent consultants and we are without any parent organisation. So we believe a competency management system needs objective testing at its heart. And the first part of that, the online assessment, is what I'm going to be talking about. Of course, that's a skills assessment and a skills gaps assessment. I'm so sorry, there seems to be some kind of timing issue here. For a full CMS system, you really need to include other things like CVs, interviews, references, and CPD. So what happened with us? Well, in 2014, we were at the Ops Geology conference, and those attending gave a mandate to develop a CMS for the discipline. UK OGC was created in 2015, and we were looking to set up a universal CMS to assess competence via independent verification. This evolved into Ajika in 2019 to focus on the development and launch of the online assessment. And those are the 4 people that have been involved in OGICA. We've given progress updates at 2016, 2018 and 2020 conferences, and we actually tested the online assessment live with the audience to much hilarity and much mirth, but it was a good success. We've made presentations to the industry stakeholders at PETEX and DevEx. We forged our link with Ecom Scotland, who've been our partners in creating the software platform that we work with. And we've also engaged with the UK government HSE department in 2016, and they gave us their unequivocal support in developing this online assessment, as actually the HSE department recognised that they don't deal with operations geoscience. It's not something that they actually look at or manage. They're very much focused more towards engineering. So for the objective assessing and testing, 15 industry practitioners, together with Ajika members, populated the question database, and we're continually updating that. In 2019 to early 2020, we did technology testing, we did practical testing, and we had an extensive peer review by our esteemed peers in operations geoscience practitioners, and they have many, many years of experience, and they peer reviewed it. The Ajika online skills self-assessment went live on March the 19th at a cost of £80. It still is £80, and that relates to about 145 or 145 Australian dollars and 105 US dollars per assessment. There we are again. Ajika is a not-for-profit LLP. If you look at the date, March 19th, 2020, on the March the 20th, 2020, the UK went into its first lockdown because of the pandemic. Fortunately, though, being online and being able to be accessed online 24 hours a day, the assessment has since continued to be accessed throughout the last 2 years. Just want to say as well that Ajika is a not-for-profit limited liability partnership. In May 2021, the Geological Society endorsed the OGICA online self-assessment and gave us professional accreditation for a training event. And this is a badge which, whenever you take the assessment, the Geological Society endorsed training event logo will actually be placed upon it. So what is the assessment? Well, we've got multiple choice, 100 questions, 90 minutes duration. They're grouped into 10 categories, which cover the range of tasks ops geos or operations geoscientists perform. And you can see there on the right, we've identified 10 areas which we feel are the most important to address. And it is within those 10 categories that our questions are grouped. Within the categories, there's a large range of relevant skill sets which your questions are based on. When we first did our brainstorming exercise to actually get all of these tasks down on paper, this covered probably the side of a massive classroom that we were in because of the huge range of skills that you need to actually perform all the tasks that we need to do. The questions are placed within experience levels to ensure inclusivity for all candidates. So even from somebody entering into the industry to 3 years experience, they will be able to answer a certain number of questions on the assessment. But they are put in terms of levels of what we believe your experience would be to be able to answer those questions. The range of assessment questions are just a reflection of the required skills that we need. So there's understanding, data analysis, interpretation, theory, calculations, and identifications. And we strongly recommend a calculator and something to write on while you're doing the assessment. So here's some questions. If anybody wants to have a go and tell me what the answers are at the end of the talk, I'd be very happy to chat them through. So this is a level 1 question in category 7, which is coring. And you can see it's identification of which bit. Here we have level 2 question, HSE, category 9, asking what concentration H2S is deadly at. I do apologise for this. This is about the drilling direction here from left to right. The wellbore's horizontal, and what is the feature drilled through? So it's interpreting an image log. I do apologise here. And this is about the effect of a vertical gas column in a shallow reservoir in a normally pressured well. And this is level 4, looking at shallow hazards and well planning competencies. So you see the kind of range of questions we ask. We also do calculations, and these are the calculations that would be asked of anybody, whether planning or executing a well. So here's a directional one about extrapolating using a surveying system. This is one about looking at pressures and determining what your planning ahead would be if you were using a pressure tester and you read a pressure at that depth. And the third one is about looking at wireline pressures and determining what fluid is between those two. So very usual questions that you would be asked in any kind of scenario, whether on or offshore. At the end, once you press the button to say you are finished or 90 minutes is up, you will immediately get your results plotted on a spider plot and a bar chart, and this will indicate your strengths and skills gaps. Note that depending on the candidate, skills gap may not be significant. If you are, for example, a well site geologist who specializes in vertical exploration wells, we wouldn't necessarily be looking at strong geosteering skills. So it really, you have to be very aware of the project that you're working on and the skills that you want for that project to be able to determine who is the best candidate for it. And it's also for people themselves to benchmark and to look and to see whether or not they themselves believe that this is something that they actually want to work on. It's benchmarking for the future. These should show your training record as you go through your career. As an ops geologist, I would have preferred 20 of these rather than 20 10-page CVs being sent to me to be able to determine who's appropriate for a very specialised HPHT well that I was drilling. To be able to see somebody with great pore pressure skills and exploration skills would have been much more helpful than 20 CVs that I had to read through. So let's go through a little bit of a summary. It was created by more than 15 industry operations geoscientists. It's been QC'd by Ajika and our peers. There's currently almost 1,000 questions in the database, and it's continually updated and added to. Each 90-minute assessment consists of a randomized selection of 10 questions from 10 categories. Each set of questions contains a fixed and consistent number of questions from levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. So everybody gets the same number of questions and from the same levels, although the questions themselves are not going to be the same. They're all going to be randomized. So we get visual results available immediately on completion, and that's in the form of a spider plot and a bar chart. There's a digital badge which is generated post-assessment, and that can be downloaded and then uploaded to social media. Things like, I guess, quite a lot of people use LinkedIn. As a benchmark of skill levels, it highlights skills gaps to address for training as part of career CPD or for further experience to be gained. There is no pass or fail. It is completely confidential to the candidate taking the assessment. We don't know who they are. We don't know what your results are. It's perfectly completely confidential to you. So our current status is that it's live and it's being accessed, and it's completed by some of our industry peers. There are oil company personnel, service companies, and independent consultants as well. We welcome feedback at the end of the assessment via an online survey, and currently this is the score we've achieved, and we're quite pleased with that. We've also had some comments such as the evaluation process gives a good level of skill. That's great. Also, that it highlighted some areas of limited or weaker ability. That's brilliant. That's exactly what we wanted to do. We've also had some comments about how some of it was quite difficult. And that, again, is exactly what we want. This isn't something that any of us or all of us would be expecting to get 100% on. So we've had a recent agreement with a Middle East operator, and we've got quite a lot of assessments ongoing at the moment. To identify skills gaps and opportunities for further training. They've just ended up with quite a number of personnel from various companies, and whether they're staff, service companies or consultants, they want to get a benchmark of everybody so they can identify the best way to manage those people. So we're in the middle of doing that at the moment. And there can be some personalization for companies. If you want to take a huge, multiple candidates, that can be done, but that is likely to incur a slight additional cost. And we're discussing with a number of multinational energy companies to assess staff, consultants and contractors. This is something that is independent of any assessment that an oil company may make. And I know in some countries in the world, it's actually illegal for companies to assess people who aren't their employees. So this gives opportunities to benchmark everybody who's going to be working for you who isn't necessarily an employee. The way forward is this. I mean, we've, as everybody's aware, currently living under has curtailed a lot of progress and a lot of points, but we are still looking to engage industry stakeholders. We are in conversation at the moment with the HSE. We'd like to do a follow-up to our previous meeting on that. And we're still talking to regulators and operators. We'd like to engage the industry in the assessment for succession planning to ensure seamless continuity. myself and my 3 colleagues are perhaps moving towards the end of our careers, so we'd certainly like to engage younger people into this process. If anybody's interested, please let us know. We would still like to look at the forward plan to develop the CMS process, and that's something we are engaging in actively at the moment. So to conclude, the system offers a cost-effective online self-assessment for operations geoscientists around the world. It enables them, us, to benchmark their skills. It's also been identified for use as a first stage of competency assessment in operator and service companies. It has recognised potential to form a universal first stage for use in competency assessment in the consultant operations geoscience community. Those who don't have a parent body, who don't have a parent organisation, it's somewhere where that we can all be benchmarked together. This is how you access the assessment. That is the link. And if you go onto there, you can register as a candidate. You get an email and a password back through the post automatically. You then come back, put your email, your password in, and set up the assessment. And once you start the assessment, you can't stop. Set aside 90 minutes, start the assessment, and 100 questions later, you will get your spider plot and your bar chart. I would just like to thank again Esanda Engineering for the opportunity to present, and all the attendees for your time and your attention. There's Tim Herrett and Martin Gardner and myself from Ajika, and there's Helen Robertson and Emma Dixon from Ecom Scotland. If anybody has any questions, very happy to talk them through. If anybody wants to contact us at a later time, then you can contact us via LinkedIn. That's our group link there, or we are all individually on LinkedIn if you'd like to contact us personally. So I do apologise for the timing on my slides. I'm really not sure. There was no timing on them at all, so I was led to believe, but I have had some technology problems, so I do apologise for flipping backwards and forwards, but hopefully that's given everybody something to consider, and as I say, we're very open to having questions.
Thank you, Christine. That was great. As Christine said, we throw it over to you to ask any questions. If you can do them through chat, that would be great. And you can contact Christine directly for more information on Ajika, or if for some reason you don't remember the details, you can always contact us and we'll put you forward to Christine or to Helen if you've got interest in developing something yourself that's, they can help you out with the software and the platforms to do something similar. Okay. Helen, anything to add? You're on mute though, I'll just let you know.
First time for everything. Imagine something, technology making me quiet in a day. So no, as always, Christine, it's fantastic. Another great overview of that great assessment tool. I think maybe one thing that I could say about Ecom Learning Solutions and what we've developed, and Anastasis, if you can send out this link.
Sure.
And Emma, I'll maybe be able to come in and tell you a wee bit more about it as well. So we have worked very closely with an organisation called Universities for Industry, where we got funding to create a virtual reality assessment platform. So this virtual reality assessment platform is a self-authoring virtual reality. So you can create your own content, create your own VR scenario by taking 360 images. It's called Init Reality, and I'll ask Anastasis to send out the link to you where you can get a free trial on it. It is a fantastic tool. Well, I would say that, but absolutely is a fantastic tool. And it's not expensive, and it's one that can be, anybody can do it. There's no coding required. As I said, you can create your own content, create your own videos, and create your own VR scenario. Emma, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, that was really clear, Helen. I think it sums it up. I think if anyone's interested, just check out the website and it will give you all the information you need.
Okay, that's great. So nothing else to say at this point, Anastasis?
Okay, great. There were a couple of questions. I think Christine's just answered one through chat, but I don't know if you want to go over that quickly, Christine.
Well, thank you, Adrian, for a brilliant presentation. That's lovely. Martin has asked how many assessments completed since the launch. Number one, we're not going to give you the actual number because it is confidential to the candidates, but I would say that we are looking into the hundreds. Okay. Well, we've got about 130 odd in the Middle East alone. So, and there are others around the world. So there's a wide variety of people taking them, but certainly we are up in the hundreds.
Yeah. There was another question you did answer. Sorry, you did answer in chat about the assessment timing out after 90 minutes.
That's right. That's part of our one of our security features. I'm not going to talk about all of them because Ecom Scotland have got their own security features. But one of the things for us is taking 90 questions in 100 minutes is a significant, taking 100 questions in 90 minutes is a significant task. And that's part of security as well. Although all the questions have been designed to not to be Googled or anything like that, so you can't actually take one of our questions. I mean, you know, for example, if you're drilling from here to here and what's the depth at certain depth, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to understand the principles and the practices to be able to do that. So there's very, very little that you can Google. But quite a lot of the questions are, if you know the answer, you know, which is the core head, click, or not, as the case may be. But certainly after 90 minutes, the assessment will close down and it will go automatically the spider plot for the questions you have. Now, when you're taking the assessment, you can either go through them sequentially, the questions. You can start at one end and go all the way back. You can miss them out if you're not quite sure and want to go back to them at the end and you think you've got enough time. So you can move around the assessment. You don't have to take them one after another. There's a bar at the bottom that you can choose which question you go to and from. But for 100 questions in 90 minutes, you do need to keep going. It's not something you can really ponder on for a long time. And that really gives an indication of where you do understand what the question is being asked, and therefore you have that skill to answer it. After 90 minutes, it will automatically stop, and then you will go on to, it will produce your spider plot and your bar chart.
Okay, there are a couple more questions there for you, Christine.
Okay.
One from Gavin Jones.
Thank you, Adrian. Are the assessments remote proctored? Remote? Okay. Thanks, Gavin, for that. We can do. Well, if you are asking as an individual, so as an individual, you go to get your username and password and pay your money. You can do it whenever you want. You have your link. The only thing is, once you start it, you have 90 minutes to complete it, but you can do it wherever you want. For those multiple assessments we've been asked for, the option has been given for them all to be done at a similar time, or for candidates to choose their own time. It can be varied that way. There is a high degree of flexibility in how we can manage this. So if you wanted a large number of people to take them and you want them all to be in a classroom doing it, that can be done. Or if you want people to do it at their leisure, that can also be done. How we invigilate this, I am reluctant to give any secrets away. But there are such things as webcams being employed, if that is necessary. I guess you're asking just in case, you know, it's for somebody doing the assessment and somebody isn't invigilating them. There is a high degree of responsibility on the candidate taking the test, the assessment. But there are methods and ways of actually monitoring who's doing it. So I don't really want to go into the security aspects because a lot of them are company IP and not mine. Okay, does that help? Gavin?
Yep, Gavin's just answered that, understood perfectly.
Oh, okay, that's good. So here we have, I'm sorry.
There's a question from, yeah, it's an interesting question, Christine, and I think, you know, you'll be able to answer it, but yeah, we're here to help if there's any requirements.
Absolutely. Now, we have spoken about this lots as Ajika, and we are looking to have somewhere for people to not necessarily to advertise, but give information about training courses that they run, okay? The difficulty is we don't feel that we are competent enough to assess all the training that there is going on in the world out there. I mean, there's Esanda, obviously does a lot of training. There are lots of other companies as well. And whilst we are still grappling with this nettle at the moment, because we do feel that we can signpost people to areas, but what we can't do is we can't vouch for their proficiency or the professionalism, because that would involve all of us looking at all of the training that we would actually signpost people to. We can't do that. So we'd have to have some kind of disclaimer, but certainly it is something which we are considering at the end of the assessment.
Yeah, that's a fair response. And it is difficult to know who can do what for you and to what level of proficiency, as you say.
Oh, thank you, Emma, for that great, very, very good response to Gavin about remotely proctoring or invigilating. That's great. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions?
No, it's such a good presentation, Christine. You covered
Thank you.
everything, pretty much.
I am sorry about the timing issue. I'm not really sure why that happened. It's certainly not in the original one, so it'll be the vagaries of Zoom, I suspect, or
quite possibly
the platform we're on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If there are no more questions, it's whether anyone, Helen, Christine, Tim, whether you've got anything to add, or if anybody wants to talk to us about, training sport, I'm here to discuss that as well. I can hang back or just book a meeting with us. So
I think
I've got nothing more to add. Sorry, Christine, I've got nothing more to add. I don't know if Emma, do you have anything you want to add at this point before Anastasis closes off?
No, nothing to add. A great presentation, Christine. Thank you.
Thank you. I think just for me, it's the thing about skills and skills gap, which I think is critical here. None of us, when we're looking to other people as well, thinking, oh, what are they good at this? Are they good at that? We have to remember that we also have skills and skills gaps. And I think recognizing skills gaps is the most important thing. As one of our questioners has said, do you then signpost on what can we do to fill in those skills gaps? Well, as I explained, some skills gaps don't need to be filled in. If you're somebody who is going to focus on the exploration world, you never need geosteering, so that's fine. But for those who do want training, I think it's a really good way to identify where you need to focus your efforts, either get more experience or get some training. And something which has been something we've mentioned previously is, if you do identify a skills gap and you go and get training, after you've done that, redo the assessment and see how it works. That is something about benchmarking. You can see your progression through your career, increasing your knowledge through training and also experience.
Okay, great. I don't think we've got any more questions coming through. And don't forget, you can send them through by email if you think of anything afterwards, or if you want to get in touch with Christine or the team or Helen about developing something or doing the assessment. Okay.
Yeah, great. All our contact details will be in that follow-up email that you've kindly offered to send out, Anastasis. So, and that includes LinkedIn details too.
Yeah, and
thanks,
the video will be up in a day or so, 24 hours or so.
Oh,
so you can have a look at that again if you missed anything, or if you want to pass it on to your colleagues.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Thanks very much, Anastasis. Thank you, everybody, for attending. It's been great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, cheers. I'll hang back in case anybody wants to talk to me. Otherwise, I'll just wait till everyone logs off and close the session down.